Hi, Neil from Reason Coffee Shop here in Watford. Just thought I would make a few comments on what's going on with Michael Gove being tasked with removing the Human Rights Act. There's been a petition on change.org that has gathered, well, as of this time, about 170,000 signatures, 100,000 in the last 24 hours. Now this is huge, and it's good. The people are speaking, but don't think for one second Michael Gove's going to listen to that. He's still going to try to get rid of the Human Rights Act, even though it's against the will of the people. He has no mandate to do this. They got in on 24% of the populace, their vote, the Tories, and yet they're going to remove what was one of the grandest achievements of mankind, is the Human Rights Act. Now, just let's run through a few things, because I don't think everyone knows who voted for the Tories, even what the Human Rights Act entitles them to, so we'll just go through a few of the bits, and then we'll wonder why, as we go along. We'll look at why they might want to remove it. So we'll start with the first thing, is the fact that Britain has been under investigation by the UN recently for abuses of human rights. We used to be upholders of human rights, and we've been an abuser of human rights. It was after a report from the Just and Fair coalition suggested the UK had gone from being a leader in disability rights to being in danger of becoming a systematic violator of the same rights. So that's just stupid. I mean, how can we go from being a country that's proud to take care of people's human rights to being a violator? And we all know the policies that were brought in the last 5 years that discriminated against the poor and the disabled, and the cuts coming in the next couple of years are going to take that even further. So, well, let's go and see why they might want to get rid of some of these things. So, human rights, what are they? Well, one of the first ones, one of the main ones, is a right to life. Now, I like living, I like other people living. It's quite a good thing. Unfortunately, Michael Gove, who's come in, is a fan of the death penalty. He's a fan of the death penalty. I thought we'd got rid of this discussion decades ago. Yeah, there you go. Michael Gove is a fan of the death penalty, and he's getting rid of the Human Rights Act. Great, fantastic. Next one up, right not to be tortured or treated in an inhumane or degrading way. Well, why would they want to get rid of this one? So you can get confessions from the police, from the army, but let's face it, many times people have been sent to jail, and then their convictions have been quashed because their confession was obtained under duress. And it's proven that if you obtain a confession or information under torture, it's not likely to be correct. It's not likely to be correct. So there's no point in doing it. Even if you were to say it was justified, there was no point in doing it. So personally, I'd rather keep that one in there. Number 4, right to be free from slavery or enforced labour. That's a fantastic one. We got rid of slavery, we got rid of workhouses. Unfortunately, what's happened now under the Tories, they are, for people to get their welfare, they are making them do meaningless, pointless jobs just so they can say they're working, just to get their welfare. That's forced labour. That is slavery. With the workhouses are coming back. They're pretty much here now. Right to a fair trial. Well, in the last 5 years they've already removed that for a lot of people with the removal of legal aid. So there is no right to a fair trial for poor people if you can't get legal aid. So there you go, they've broken that one already. Number 7, right not to be punished for something that wasn't against the law. Well, look what they're doing. They're trying to stop protesters. Every time you see a protest, the police come in. You're doing something completely innocent, and they come in and cause trouble, and there's people getting arrested left, right and centre for doing nothing wrong whatsoever. They're being antagonised by the police to try to create a situation where they're doing something wrong. Right to respect private family life, home and correspondence. So you can see why they might want to get this one, seeing as they want to bring in the Snoopers Charter that is going to allow them to look at our correspondence. So there's another human right just about to disappear out the door. Are you getting a drift here that every single one of these so far they might not put in the Bill of Rights? Article number 8. No, sorry, just did number 8. Number 9. right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion. And number 10, right to freedom of expression. Well, they're good things. We need freedom of speech. We need freedom of speech. The only way we beat bad ideas is with good ideas, and freedom of speech is fundamental, and so is freedom of religion. They need to stay in there. Article 11, the freedom of assembly and association. They're already restricting assembly. You have to apply to have more than a few people gather in one place, opening public protesting. That's no right to assembly. That's not a right to assembly. We should be able to walk peacefully anywhere and demonstrate any time we want. So we're going to do that. There's going to be direct action in the next 5 years, and it's going to be fantastic. The right to marry and found a family. Well, the Tories have already proved they're not so pro this either, because before the last election they refused to bring in humanist weddings. So if you're a humanist and you want a humanist wedding, you can't have one. It doesn't count. It's not legally counted. So they're not giving humanists the right to marry. And found a family, well, yeah, you can find a family, but if you want to have more than a couple of kids, they're going to take your benefits away from you. So that's a bit of a restriction on your family life too. Now this is one of the key ones that a lot of people obviously have a problem with. Right not to be discriminated against in relation to any of the rights contained in the European Convention. But this one causes problems because it makes it difficult sometimes to get a hooky terrorist out of the country. But quite frankly, if that takes a while, it happened in the end. It may have cost a bit of money, but I think it's worth keeping our human rights to do this, to make sure we aren't abusing the system. It worked in the end. Right to education. Well, they're already putting tuition fees up to £9,000 to try to deter education. They're already taking schooling back to a level where people aren't taught to critically think. They're just taught to remember numbers, dates, historical things that are pretty much irrelevant in this day and age. They do not want people educated. The Tory government do not want people educated. They know that the more educated people get, the more liberal thinking and the more caring they become, and the less likely they are to vote Tory. So they do not want you educated. That's a fact. And right to free election. Well, we've still got that right now, but they're already hitting on that. 900,000 people were took off the electoral register last year, just wiped off by the government, because they knew there was mostly going to be students that wouldn't vote for the Conservative Party. So what right to free election did they have? It's disgusting. We do still have the right, and we have to. Why we have this right, we have to fight and we have to vote. Okay, so that's my little rant over about the Human Rights Act. But keep signing, change.org, go there, sign, write to your MP, get out on the street if there's protests going on. We have to keep the Human Rights Act. It is vital. It is one of the proudest things humans have ever done, and this Tory government is going to rip it up. And what does that say to other countries? What does that say to the abusers out there that we are trying to deal with? What does that say to Saudi Arabia? What does that say to the other countries? Well, Britain doesn't care. Why should we care? How can we hold them to account? How can we hold them to account for their human rights abuses if we get rid of the Human Rights Act? So I'm going to be doing more of these videos. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe below, down there. You can support us on Patreon. The link will be in the description. And if you live in the Watford area and you want to come in and say hello, Reason Coffee Shop up by the pond in Watford. Thanks for watching.